week 7 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters that definitely can help your team here this week in week 7, and hopefully beyond for the rest of the season. The first guy, Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles, so the top prospect in all Major League Baseball, finally called up in Baltimore here. And I know right now he's not available in many fantasy leagues, only available in 32% of fantasy leagues. But I think this kid, he should be virtually owned in every fantasy league, unless you're in like a 6-team league or something. So right here, top prospect in all Major League Baseball. And Baltimore finally pulled the trigger and called him up here, is Alderson. So right now in his first 2 ball games, he's 2 for 8, but this guy's got power. He's legit, no doubt about it. I know we've seen some prospects come up and do nothing over the last couple seasons and go the other way. Obviously, like Torkelson's in the season's been struggling, and Jerry Kelnick just can't get anything going. But Rutschman, the top prospect in all Major League Baseball, and you got to go out there and give him a chance. And if he doesn't do anything for a month or 2, or he gets sent back down to the minors, you drop him. But right now, all the hype around him, number 1 prospect in fantasy in all of baseball, and you go out there and pick him up. The next guy, Nolan Gorman of the St. Louis Cardinals, so another top prospect here, and I think he's in the top 10 or top 15 in all Major League Baseball for prospects. So right here on the season for Gorman, so far the first few games for him at the Pittsburgh Pirates, he's looked pretty good as well. 5 for 10, 4 runs scored on the season, and he's hitting .500. So right here, Gorman, he showed a lot of power in the minor leagues. 12 home runs so far in the early going, and right now he's more available a little bit than Rutschman in 42% of fantasy leagues. So Gorman, he's another guy you got to go out there and get him in pretty much every single league as well here. And he's going to get second base qualifications as well. Right now he qualifies at third, but he's been playing second base so far in the early going here up with the Cardinals. And the Cardinals, they wanted that one more big bat in the lineup here with Goldschmidt, Arenado, and Juan Yepes, who I'm going to mention in this video as well. But Gorman's up. All the hype's around him, the power he showed in AAA, and it was time to get him up. And his value is going to be great as well once he qualifies for second base. So I would give Gorman and Rutschman the 2 top pickups, no doubt about it, this week if they're available in your fantasy league. The next guy, Brandon Nimmo of the New York Mets. I mentioned Nimmo last week as an ad here, and he's playing great baseball this season here. He's a run catalyst for this Met team and an on-base guy, no doubt about it. So on the season here for Nimmo, 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, 25 runs scored on the season, 292 batting average, and a 390 on base. So right here, he's going out there, and he's doing what this Met team wants him to do. He's leading off, not stealing bases, obviously, but everything else that you want from a leadoff batter, he's doing. May 14th versus Seattle, 1 for 4 with a run. May 15th versus Seattle, 2 for 5, 3 RBIs. May 17th in a doubleheader versus the Cardinals, 1 for 8. May 18th versus St. Louis, 1 for 4, 2 runs a rib. May 19th versus St. Louis, 1 for 5 with a run and a rib. May 21st at the Rockies in a doubleheader, 3 for 7 with a run and a rib. And May 22nd at the Rockies, 1 for 4 with a run. So if you need runs, you need batting average and on-base percentage, Brandon Nimmo was a good ad this week for those categories. He's not really going to show much power, and obviously he's not going to drive in a lot of runs leading off for this Met team. So right now, he's available in 48% of fantasy leagues, and he'll help you out in 3 or 4 categories, and I would give him an ad this week. The next guy, Christian Walker of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Christian Walker, he's found the power stroke over the last week and a half here for Arizona. On the season for Walker, 10 home runs, 19 RBIs, 20 runs scored, a 201 batting average, and a 290 on base. So right here, he's pretty much a home run and nothing is Walker. But the funny thing with him is he's got 35 strikeouts as Walker in 146 at-bats, and not a crazy bad strikeout ratio. Still not that great as well, but according to today's standards in Major League Baseball, his strikeouts aren't all that crazy. And right here, the RBIs obviously are horrible with 19 RBIs only with the 10 homers. But if you're looking for some cheap power, Christian Walker's a guy to get because he's going to play every day over there in Arizona. And back clean up the last few games for him. May 16th at the Dodgers, 1 for 3 with a homer and an RBI. May 17th in a doubleheader at the Dodgers, 3 for 7, 2 homers, 3 RBIs. May 18th at the Dodgers, 0 for 4. May 19th at the Cubs, 0 for 4. May 20th at the Cubs, 1 for 3 with a homer, RBI, 2 runs scored. May 21st at Chicago, 0 for 5. And May 22nd at Chicago, 0 for 2 with a run. So right now, He's available in 72% of fantasy leagues. And if his power dwindles, you drop him because he's not really ever been a high batting average guy, is Christian Walker. Last season, he had 240 batting average, but he did hit 10 home runs, which he already matched this season. So he's found more of a power stroke, and we'll see what he does. But right now, like I mentioned, for cheap power and a utility guy, he's a pretty good ad this week. The next guy is Tyler Naquin of the Cincinnati Reds. So last season was an up and down season for Naquin. He came out of the gates hot, and this season he didn't do much early, but the last couple weeks here he's playing good baseball. On the season, 4 home runs, 21 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 17 runs scored, 265 average, and a 312 on base. So right here, his on base to batting average isn't that great. A free swinger is Naquin, swinging early in the count. And last season, we definitely saw power out of him with 19 home runs, even though he got off to that crazy hot start where he was hitting over like 350 in the first month of the season. But he definitely cooled off. But right now, he's still going to get an everyday opportunity. We know Cincinnati traded a lot of their good players in the offseason, and guys like Naquin are getting a chance here. So the last few games for him: May 15th at the Pirates, 0-3. May 17th at Cleveland, 2-4 with a homer, RBI, stolen base, 2 runs scored. May 19th at the Guardians, 2-4 with a homer and RBI, 2 runs. May 20th at Toronto, 0-4. May 21st at Toronto, 2-4 with a run. And May 22nd at Toronto, 0-3. So right now, if you need some runs, a few stolen bases, and some pop Naquin shows, I think he's a decent ad this week, and he's available widely in 84% of fantasy leagues. The next guy I look to add this week is MJ Melendez of the Kansas City Royals. So he was in the starting lineup, he wasn't in the starting lineup, and now he's back, one of the top prospects in the Royals system. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs on the season, 4 runs scored, a 261 batting average, and a 320 on base percentage here. So Melendez, he's getting an everyday opportunity now here until Sally Perez obviously comes back here. So the last few games here for Melendez: May 17th versus the White Sox in a doubleheader, 2-7, a homer, an RBI, and a run. May 18th versus the White Sox, 2-4, 2 runs, a homer, 2 RBIs. May 19th, 1-4 versus Chicago. May 20th versus the Twins, 2-4. May 21st versus the Twins, 0-4. May 22nd versus the Twins, 0-4. So right here, he's available in 65% of fantasy leagues. And like I mentioned, one of their top prospects, he's getting an opportunity now. I don't know, we're really changed from last week to this week here for Melendez. So if you need catching help, which is obviously one of the weakest positions, if not the weakest position in fantasy baseball, I would give Melendez an ad. And now with Perez on the IL with the thumb strain here, he'll probably miss a few weeks. You give Melendez an ad this week. The next guy I'd look to add is Juan Yepes of the St. Louis Cardinals. So the Cardinals, they've called up a lot of their better prospects here over the last few weeks. I mentioned Gorman, I mentioned Liberatore in the other video, and now Yepes, he was on the list last week, and he's going to stay on it this week as well. On the season, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, 12 runs scored, a 317 average, and a 388 on base here for Juan Yepes. So Yepes, I know it's only been this so far this season, 65 at-bats, but he's shown some good power. He's shown some good at-bats up there, and he definitely hits the ball hard as well here, and he's available still in 50% of fantasy leagues, and he's got good versatility as well, qualifying at first, third, and outfield. So the last few games here for Yepes: May 17th at the Mets, 0-4. May 18th at the Mets, 0-4. May 19th at the Mets, 3-5, a homer, an RBI, a run scored. May 20th at the Pirates, 1-4 with a run. May 21st at the Pirates, 0-2 with a run. And May 22nd at the Pirates, 1-5, 2 runs, and an RBI. So if you're looking for some power, run scored, and a guy could get on base and hit the baseball decently for average with good versatility, Juan Yepes, he's a pretty good ad this week here. And I like what he's doing so far in the early going with the St. Louis Cardinals. The next guy I look to add this week, Santiago Espinal of the Toronto Blue Jays. I mentioned him a couple weeks ago on the ad list here, and he's still available in 73% of fantasy leagues. On the season here for Espinal, 2 home runs, 15 RBIs, 14 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, 295 average, and a 350 on base. So right here, he's hitting the baseball well. He's getting on base, and obviously teams aren't going to really pay attention to him with all those big hitters in that Blue Jay lineup. But right now, he's been batting 5th lately or 8th for this Toronto Blue Jay team, and he qualifies at 2nd and 3rd. It's a good versatility as well. So the last few games here for Espinal, May 16th versus Seattle, 1 for 4. May 17th versus Seattle, 1 for 3 with a run. May 18th versus Seattle, 2 for 4. May 20th versus the Reds, 2 for 4. May 21st versus the Reds, 1 for 4. And May 22nd versus the Reds, 1 for 4 with a run. So right now, if you need runs scored, some batting average and on base, Espinal would be the guy to get here. He's not going to really show power at all here. And he's not big base stealer as well. So right now, I would go out there and get him, and he can help you in a few categories. And if he fizzles out, you just drop him. The next guy is Alek Thomas of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So one of the top prospects in their system. And a lot of good prospects have come up over the last couple weeks here around the league. And Thomas definitely one of them. On the season, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 7 runs scored, 326 average, and a 354 on base. The only thing I don't like in the first 50 at-bats about here for Thomas is his on-base to batting average ratio. But this guy, he definitely has power to all fields. He could spray the ball to all fields, and he's looking good here as Thomas. There's going to be growing pains, no doubt about it. But so far, I like what I've seen from him, and right now, he's available, surprisingly, still in 65% of fantasy leagues. So the last few games here for Thomas, May 17th in a doubleheader at the Dodgers, 3 for 8, a homer and RBI. May 18th at the Dodgers, 1 for 4. May 19th at the Cubs, 1 for 3. May 20th at the Cubs, 2 for 4, a homer and RBI and a run. May 21st at the Cubs, 1 for 4 with a run. And May 22nd at the Cubs, 0 for 4. So right now, he's going to show some power. There's going to be growing pains as well. But right now, while the batting average is over 300 and he's got 3 home runs in his first 50 at-bats, he should be added in more fantasy leagues. And the final hit I look to add this week's Cole Calhoun, Texas Rangers. So Cole Calhoun, a resurgence he's had a little bit this season with the Texas Rangers. After last season, he just couldn't get anything going, and including the last couple seasons as well. Just Calhoun, you thought he was finished, but now he's had a resurgence, like I mentioned, with the Texas Rangers so far this season. And he's on a power stroke as well the last few weeks. So on the season here for Calhoun, 6 home runs, 14 RBIs, 10 runs scored at 243 average and a 292 on base. But right here in the last week, he's hit 5 home runs alone. And he's available in 80% of fantasy leagues. So if you need cheap power, he's like a Christian Walker. Not going to have a great batting average. Going to have a decent strikeout rate. But when he gets a hold of one, he can put it a long way and put up homers quickly. May 17th versus the Angels, 2 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs. May 18th versus the Angels, 2 for 3, 2 runs, a homer, and RBI. May 19th at Houston, 1 for 4. May 20th at Houston, 1 for 4, a homer, and RBI, and a run. May 21st at Houston, 1 for 4. And May 22nd at Houston, 1 for 4 with a run. So Calhoun here, he's looking good. He's got the home run bat going right now. And if you need cheap power, he's a good add this week here. But he's also a guy that last season was horrible. He has more home runs already this season than last. And we'll see what happens with Calhoun this year. But right now, for a guy at utility or a bench spot, he's a good add for power this week. So that's a few hitters I look to add here for Week 7 of the fantasy baseball season.